Hi, my name is Susie, and today I'm going to talk about theory of the mind. Theory of the mind is understanding the thoughts behind the human behavior. What is the role of understanding? How do we come to the conclusion why someone is behaving the way they are? And what are the processes the brain goes through, and in everyday social interactions. Um, it's important that we understand the theory of the mind because it explains the why of people's behavior. It explains the why of people's behavior, um, and how we as humans get to that level of understanding. Um, Part of the problem, though, with the theory of the mind is that we often make those perceptions based on our own experiences and beliefs, values. Um, so that's part of the, not the problem, but kind of um, the other side of the coin of understanding. Um, so it's important that um, when we're interpreting individuals' actions and behaviors, that we're interpreting from a frame of reference that is not judgmental, because that is not necessarily where they're coming from. One of the difficulties that individuals, one of the difficulties of the theory of the mind is that individuals with autism often struggle with explaining the nuances and the body languages of people, because they don't have the capability to carry out the processes of why someone's doing that. They just see the actions, and it's very like A equals B, whereas normally with theory of the mind we look at A plus B, and maybe C, sometimes F, and sometimes we add a G in, and then that's how we get to the response of why someone is behaving the way they are. But individuals with autism don't have that ability to do it, so they pretty much base all of their decisions on why someone is behaving the way they are, based on data they collect of continuous and repetitive interactions with somebody. Um, One thing to understand about the theory of the mind is it's not a single theory or idea. It's a accumulation of tools, and the toolkit is how the chapters explains it, or the reading explains it. It's a variety of tools that we use as humans, um, and some primates use, animals like mammals, dogs, they use to interpret behavior. So it's important to understand that theory of the mind is not one single thing. It's a variety of things, and the textbook has it like in a triangle, like a pyramid. Um, the first one would be to like recognizing goals. So, for example, a dog knows that if they ring the bell, they'll get to go outside. So that's a goal. They've learned that, and they've over time that they've made that connection with the two. Chimpanzees and orangutans and gorillas, they know how to imitate, which is the next level, and they can demonstrate empathy with someone. Um, Finally, the higher ones are the one only humans can do, which is like joint attention is one of the words, and they explained it by when you say, "Hey, look at this," and you kind of look at someone to make sure that they're seeing what you see. Like, are we sharing the same perception of this? Um, Projection and stimulation, and that simulation is kind of we do a lot. We project how we feel onto individuals. Um, and so we do that. And the top part of the primitive is mental state inference, where we can infer someone's feelings or emotions based on all of the bottom that we've included. Um, so one of the things that they talked about was synchrony, and how we subtly, as humans, we kind of join. We don't really realize it, but we do join with whoever we're talking about. I can give you an example. I was born and raised in Texas, but I've lived in California for like the past 20 years. But when I go back to Texas or I hear somebody with a heavy Southern accent, mine will come through very strong after talking to them in a while. Another one is that when I work with clients that are in crisis, I've been taught to really use my body language to de-escalate the situation. For example, if they're yelling and their hands are going everywhere, and I've taught to lower my voice and lean into them, uncross my arms, hoping that they'll mimic my behavior and that'll de-escalate the situation. And those are things that only humans can do, and that again goes back to the theory of the mind. I've processed that this is the way someone's acting, and this is how I can counteract that behavior. I'm looking at my notes because I had a lot, but I'm already over 5 minutes. So the ability to understand someone's perspective really requires that we understand and separate what we know and we feel from what they know and they feel. And that's super important, because sometimes we have a tendency as humans to judge people's behavior based on our own perceptions and our own feelings. And for example, we see someone and we think that they're looking at us a certain way, and maybe because in the past we've been judged by how we're dressed, and so we automatically get defensive and think, oh my God, they're judging me, when in reality what they're doing is they're admiring how well you put that outfit together, and that they could never pull that outfit off. But in our head, because of our past interactions and past situations, we've already judged that person to be that they're judging us, and that's based on our that's in the text. In the reading, they called it explicit mental state inference, but that's judging, in layman's terms. And I really enjoyed this reading, because I could relate a lot of what I learned to what I do at work. So ultimately, I liked it. It was very informative, and the ability to have more tools in my toolbox to determine the reasoning, the why behind people's behavior. And that's basically what theory of the mind is: the why behind people's behavior. I hope that helps.